What's going on, everyone? I hope you're all well, and today we are doing a Kerapac normal mode guide. This has come about through friends of mine either in-game or in real life asking me to do one. Now the reason I'm doing this one is because the current money value, or the money that you can make at Kerapac, is truly insane, particularly in normal mode. Arguably normal mode is more money than hard mode right now if you don't count the chance for a staff piece. Now of course that is a big deal, but I digress. It is a very good moneymaker at the moment, and you guys absolutely seem to want to see it. So, without further ado, let's jump into what this video is going to contain for you guys to get your first Kerapac kills. So the things we'll be discussing today will be your inventory loadout, we will be showing a full kill, and I will also be recommending the improvements on the gear that I used. I deliberately used lower tier stuff for you to get your kills. So if you've got what I've got, great, you can get the kill. If you've got anything that's an upgrade from what I have, you've got an even better chance at either improving your survivability, your kill speeds, what have you. So, let's do it. So here you can see a very generic loadout, and first off we're going to start with our armor. So, firstly we have our head, gloves and boots are Death Dealer's robes. These are tier 65, or technically tier 70, but they're power armor, so they're slightly lower tier. We have a tank tier 90 chest and boot and legs, but you do not need the tank armor at tier 90. I would actually recommend that you bring full Death Dealer's robe set of tier 70 or above. We have a Blood Amulet of Fury necklace, and we have a Luck of the Dwarves ring. Again, we'll go through the improvements you can make on these after our full kill. We have a Slayer Master Cape. Again, does not need to be a Master Cape. Any cape that's got some buffing stats will do. And we have tier 70 melee and main hand and offhand weapons. The Scripture of Jazz book is in the equipment slot, but it was not powered. It was literally just there to give us some stats. I did not use the book. I did not use an aura, and the Nexus is there just to hold our runes. As I mentioned previously, I did not use a single piece of food on my kill with this setup. And on top of that, that means that you can obviously, if you don't have a Nexus, you can put the runes in your inventory instead of this many Rocktail. So now, of course, we're moving on to our inventory. Now, I would absolutely suggest that you have overload accessibility to do something like Kerapac on normal mode efficiently. So I'm bringing an overload, a super prayer renewal, a super weapon poison plus, an adrenaline renewal potion, 2 super restores, but you don't need to. It's, you know, if the fight does drag on, then absolutely do bring it. I've got a Ripper Demon with some scrolls, and then a full inventory of Rocktail. Very basic. I'm trying to keep this as simplistic as possible for you guys to A, follow, and B, obtain to try your first kills. I don't want to tell you to bring a whole bunch of stuff that you do not need. So lastly, we're going to move on to the Revolution bar, as you can see at the bottom underneath the inventory and the loadout. Now for the action bar, please feel free to copy what I have on screen. Our input will primarily be used on Volley of Souls, Bloat, Finger of Death, and Death Skulls. These are as and when appropriate, so do not worry. These are not spamming. These are not very click intensive. It's just to make sure that you get the best bang for your buck with your adrenaline and your souls to put out the most damage you can with the setup you have. So next up, we're going to go through the mechanics that Kerapac has on normal mode and talk through how to deal with them as they come up, including the voice line cues, so that you have a little bit of extra help and warning before these things happen. So let's do it.
I'll tear right through you.
So as you can see there, he will yell, "I will tear right through you." The best way to deal with this mechanic is to step under his feet until he has finished the animation of slamming his staff to the floor. If you do not feel able to do this, you can use anticipation and simply step out of the way. If you do not do either of these things, he will do consistent magic damage to you over the next 3 to 4 seconds. I will now show you how I deal with this mechanic right now.
I'll tear right through you.
As you can see, by stepping simply under him, and then once he slammed his staff down, I can step back out. I'm not taking any damage. There are no beams of magic power coming towards me. We are absolutely fine. So there you have it. That is the first mechanic. Let's move on to the second one.
I will put you in your place.
Now, following this voice line, he will say, "I will put you in your place." He will then do 3 ground slams consecutively, trying to land on top of your character. The best way to deal with this mechanic is to surge, escape, or dive, or bladed dive, as he's about to hit you. If you do this correctly, it will reset the timer on all of your mobility skills, that being all the ones we've just listed. So if you manage to do it successfully once, you can do it a second time and a third time. You will be absolutely fine. However, if you are not able to do this, protect melee and just make sure that you either anticipate or freedom to get out of the way. Let me show you right now.
I will put you in your place.
So there you have it. That is how you deal with the diving jumping mechanic if you do it successfully. As I said before, do not forget to use anticipate or freedom if you do not have a mobility skill ready. Once we get into the full kill, I will break down a few tips and tricks for you on how to time this correctly.
Witness the raw power of the staff.
So when he says witness the raw power of the staff, you will see a line of magical beams that come from one side of the arena to the other. As far as I know, these spawn randomly at corners of the arena. Your goal is to dash or surge through them to avoid taking any damage. Now, if you are in a place where you're completely trapped and you can't, things like reflect, barricade, those sorts of things will reduce the damage you take from it. So if you are in a pinch, you absolutely can. However, if you just run through one, you will take 3 hits of pretty significant damage. So if you can avoid it, it's definitely recommended. I'm going to show you when we do the playthrough of my full kill, how I avoid all 3 sets of beams with this setup without taking any extra damage. So let's do it. So here we are approaching the final phase of the boss fight. At this point, he will reach 75,000 health and your goal is to finish the kill. Now, the reason I recommend you bring power armor is because if you deathmark him, he will take the 30k damage at the end here. So this final phase is much easier than you think. However, his damage is incredibly strong. So make sure you use Devotion. Make sure you're utilizing Time Warp to use Devotion with, or Barricade, or Reflect. And there you have it. That is the mechanics of the boss fight. I'm going to take you through a full kill now, and we'll see how that goes. Once we've done that, we're going to go through all the things that you can have that are better than what I'm using to utilize more power, survival, damage, etc. Alrighty everyone, so here we have it. We're going into the encounter. As you can see, I have got Vuln Bombs on me as well. They are optional. The reason I didn't list them in the thing is because you don't have to have them. I've done this like 3 or 4 different times with a similar setup with and without Vuln Bombs. You do not need them. So here we go. So we're going to overload, prayer renewal, weapon poison, summon our minions, and we're going to extend them, but it's not necessary. You do not have to use life transfer here, okay? You do not have to use life transfer. It will force you to use some food before the thing starts, but that's okay. Completely optional, okay? Just before this fight starts, every single mechanic is after 3 auto attacks. So he will do 3 auto attacks, mechanic. 3 auto attacks, mechanic. 3 auto attacks, mechanic. So here we go. If you want to, you can count the auto attacks as well.
Always you. Why can't you just let it be, World Guardian?
So there's the 3rd auto attack. So I'll tear right through you. Now you'll notice here I right click under his feet and press walk here. You do not have to do this, but I find it to be the most consistent way of accidentally clicking something else or clicking on him to attack instead. This is how I like to do it. So this is how you'll see how it goes.
Tear right through you.
Walk underneath. And then I'm going to click him properly once he slammed his staff so I can step out. You don't have to wait the full duration. You just have to stand underneath him and you can continue damaging. Back to the auto attacks. That's the 3rd auto attack. I will put you in your place. Now this is the one where we're going to dive around, okay? So, I'm using dive, but you can use anything, remember? So that's 1, 2, and 3. There we go. So we're just DPSing down, and he's dead. Now do notice here, I am using, at the moment in this clip, a Necromancy prayer. So what I'm going to do now is switch over to another video of mine so you can see what the damage would look like without it. so then you can actually have a good estimation of how much damage that prayer actually gives you. But again, it's not necessary. It's just an improvement to the setup. But we'll run through those after we've done this. Alrighty, guys. So this is another kill where I'm not using the tier 95 prayer or Vuln bombs. So I'll show you from here. This is where the dive attack starts.
I will put
Here we
you
go.
in your place.
Now notice his wings. You know it says his wings go back, guys. That's when you want to get ready to dodge, okay? If you don't, the sound cue can be quite hard for some people to follow. So if you see his wings come backwards like that, that's when you want to get ready to dodge. So if you watch again, he goes up, and then his wings go back, and then there you go. Right, so as you can see, we're nowhere near, like we were before, reaching the damage cap here to skip the third phase, the third mechanic, okay? So you'll see how I deal with that mechanic here.
Witness the raw power of the stars.
So the first thing I do is look around to see where it is, and as you can see, it is over on the other side. So I'm going to walk to the opposite side so that Kerapac has his back facing it. Then when he gets close, I'm going to surge, and we're good. Back to damaging. Top amount of damage that we can have. Sorry, top amount of time to do damage.
The time threads.
And we're going to continue DPSing. Now we do have a time warp function here. Again, I didn't use it as often because you do not have to use it. A lot of people think that you have to, as you can see. So there you go. I'm using it now so that I know that I've got time to expend everything I've got. Feel free to look at the damage rotations at the bottom, but mostly Revolution is taking care of it. And we're just going to keep DPSing.
You will break beneath me.
He will break beneath me. 3 slams. So I used an escape that time. To dive. Rings go back. And we dive again. And as you can see, we've been DPSing the entire time to keep our damage up by doing things that way. We don't have to worry too much. And here we have Witness of the raw power of the staff. Now, per phase, these increase in number. 1, 2, and on the third phase, there'll be 3. So it gets increasingly more difficult. But again, you look where they're coming from. You'll see what I do on screen now. I find the center point. Another very key note right now is that I do not have auto retaliate on, so that my character can face the direction I want him to for this phase. And I'm going to surge. And we're straight through the gap. And we're all clear, back to DPSing. As you can see, we phase him there. If you do not phase him there, he will eventually do his first mechanic again, and it works the exact same way. Step underneath him, or use Anticipation or Freedom to get yourself out of the stun, and simply walk out of the way.
All its power. The time threads have split. I'll tear right through you.
There we go. We're stepping under him again, just to make sure we don't get stunned. And then we're going to time warp again. So you'll see a bit of a trend here. For my time warp, I like to do it after he does this, because I don't want to be caught off guard for the timing in order for that to happen, right? I still have plenty of time to get my damage moves off after he's done that first mechanic. And if I use it before, I might get teleported out from under his feet. I might, you know, I just don't like interrupting the timing of that. So if you want to copy this, please do. If you find your own strategy, that's fine too. And here we go. You will break beneath me. This is the triple slam. Now, as you can see, for every slam that he gets off, he summons echoes. Do not worry about these echoes too much. It's very rare that they will land on where you've been. It probably will happen, but again, it doesn't do that much damage because these guys don't stay like the original Kerapac does, okay? So if you do get hit, if you want to during this phase, just protect melee. If you're not confident at dodging them, if you protect melee, you have a lot less damage taken, okay? A lot less. There you go, perfect example. I dodged under this guy, 2,184 damage without melee protection, but he'll just fly off, okay? Didn't get stunned or anything there. Now this will be the hardest part of the fight for most of you, I would imagine, if you're not confident with these beams. So again, if you have a look at this. So now we have 3 beams. Now these are the things that really chunk your health if you mess it up. So see what I do? I do the same thing again where I'm looking for the escape. And as you'll see there, I hit, what, get hit once? Yeah, I get hit once there. And as you can see, I sort of teleported right on top of them. The reason being is because the hitbox, the damage hitbox, is actually slightly in front of where they're traveling from. So if you make sure that you're never too late on the surge or the dash either. And there you go, I surged for the second one, or the third one, sorry, and we're into the final phase. Now the final phase, he has 75k health or thereabouts. You want to protect magic the entire time, and you want to utilize devotion, reflect. You can use resonance as well. All of these things are really, really useful. You'll still notice I'm not using the tier 95 Necromancy prayer here. And I haven't used any food either. Except for the beginning of the fight, of course. And there's the insta-kill at 30k because of the power armor. Now, of course, if you want to use your spell where you can apply Death Mark, absolutely do so. But the power armor will do it for you in a fight of this magnitude or this amount of time it takes. So it's not necessary. So if you're not bringing power armor, do make sure that you have something to apply the Death Mark just to make your life a little bit easier.
Just let me die. Let me die.
And of course, we might as well check the loot. 549k for that kill, so one of the lowest end drops, but that's fine. That is a full kill breakdown. I hope that helped you to see it sort of in real time with some pausing and stuff. Let's go over now the final part of this video where we can go over what improvements you can make to the things that I have or useful extra items for you to have or to search for or to even equip to make your life easier. So starting off with one of the things that will absolutely help you is the Shadow Pontifex ring. Now, this has multiple tiers. If you enrich it with 1000 anima of 3 different types, you will increase the trove tier from tier 1 to tier 3. Tier 3 troves will have better loot in them, thus improving your GP per hour. If you infuse 1000 jazz anima, you will make it so that when he slams on the second mechanic, you will not get stunned, even if you do get hit. This one, I cannot stress enough, is so useful. If you do mess up or whatever, if you don't get stunned, it helps an awful lot. Number 2, double surge / dive. If you have a double surge codex or if you have dive unlocked, these will absolutely help with your mobility. However, it's not entirely necessary because there is a different cooldown between dive and surge. So if you want to have extra mobility, absolutely do. It's not necessary, as you saw in the video, but I would recommend it. Soul Split and Curses, again, are another huge buff. As you'll notice, I deliberately did not use Soul Split, even though I had opportunities to do so. If you have Soul Split, absolutely use it if your damage output is high enough, or if you have a certain damage phase, like when he's jumping, he can't do damage to you. If you're moving around, you can absolutely heal your health back. And of course, Curses includes things like the tier 95 prayer, which we talked about earlier, or anything higher like tier 99 if you have access to it. Cinderbane gloves. Cinderbane gloves, Kerapac is poisonable. So stacking that with the weapon poison +++ will hugely help your DPS to help you get the phase done quicker. Once you get this boss down, guys, you will probably never have a phase like the third mechanic on normal mode ever again, because you'll just phase him quick enough. Next up, stronger tier weapons and armor. As you saw, I recommended tier 70 power armor. Anything above this is obviously going to be better. You can do this in tank gear as long as you apply your own death mark, or you can have stronger power gear. That will help you too. Anything that ups your DPS that little bit more, of course, absolutely do bring some. Zook Cape for Necromancy. If you have the Necromancy Zook Cape, this will massively increase your DPS due to the Death Skulls buff it receives. Bounces 6 times, reduces its adrenaline cost. It's absolutely huge. Strongly recommend you bring this one. And lastly, the Amulet of Souls / Essence of Finality. Again, as you saw, I wasn't using Soul Split, not necessary, although an Amulet of Souls does increase the protection from magic or anything by an extra 10%, so it is worth it, but you don't have to have it. This will absolutely increase your survival if you have an Amulet of Souls and you want to run Soul Split, but if you have an Essence of Finality, you can put a special attack in, like the Death Guard, which will hugely increase your damage because it hits close to 15 plus K every single time, which is pretty crazy. So I absolutely recommend that if you have access to that. And for a bonus thing, as it's technically not an item, will be auras. Auras are absolutely huge when doing any activity in RuneScape. There are skilling ones and PVM ones, and I strongly suggest you use them when fighting Kerapac. Honorable mentions briefly will be the Equilibrium Aura, Vampirism Aura, Penance Aura, Maggiar Aura, and Aegis Aura. Those 5 I would recommend for your first time, especially trying Kerapac. They will either heal you, give you prayer points back, reduce your damage taken, or increase your damage done. You cannot lose using an aura. So there you have it, everyone. There is my Kerapac normal mode guide as requested by quite a few of you. I know many of you will already know how to do this boss, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. If you want to see more guides in the future, do let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this one and you appreciated this one, do consider hitting the like and subscribe button. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video.